The Golden Princess and the Cursed Boar. Hello my friends, welcome to the Storytime English channel. Today's story is about the cursed little boar and the golden princess. Make sure to watch this video all the way to the end, and if you enjoy it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Chapter 1, Meeting in the Forest. In the heart of the celestial kingdom, the princess lived in a grand palace that sparkled with divine splendor. She was renowned far and wide, not just for her beauty, but for the purity of her heart and her gentle wisdom. Her eyes shone like morning dew, and her lips curved into a serene smile that could calm even the most restless soul. Though she enjoyed the comforts of the palace, a restless longing stirred within her, a yearning for adventure and a deeper connection with the world beyond the palace walls. One morning, as the sun painted golden rays across the palace gardens, the princess decided to wander into the nearby forest, a place where the air smelled of pine and wildflowers, and the soft rustling of leaves carried the songs of hidden creatures. The forest was alive, light filtered through the high canopy, dancing in patches on the mossy ground, the babble of a distant stream mixed with the whisper of the wind through the branches. The princess inhaled deeply, feeling her spirit lift with every step she took deeper into the wilderness. It was there, amidst the towering trees and the soft carpet of ferns, that she first noticed him, a small, shadowed figure moving hesitantly through the undergrowth. At first, she thought him a simple forest creature, but there was something different in his presence, an odd air of mystery, tinged with sadness. The creature was a wild boar, but unlike any ordinary boar, there was a strange aura around him, as if he carried the weight of a hidden curse. His eyes, barely visible beneath the shadow of his bristled fur, seemed to flicker with both fear and curiosity. The princess paused, watching silently. The boar's movements were tentative, almost awkward, as if he were unsteady on his own legs. Every step he took seemed careful, yet uncertain, and the princess sensed the tension radiating from him. Something in her heart stirred, not fear, but compassion. She had learned in her upbringing that courage was not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it. Quietly, she stepped closer. "My name is," she began softly, unsure if he could understand her. Her voice, clear and calm, carried across the small clearing. The boar froze, tilting his head as if he could hear her words but not comprehend them fully. His small, trembling hooves shifted on the forest floor, and for a moment, he seemed poised to flee. Yet something about the princess, the gentleness in her gaze, the calm confidence in her tone, stayed him. Slowly, the princess extended her hand, not in command, but in offering. "You do not need to be afraid," she whispered. "I mean no harm. I am here to help you." The boar blinked, a subtle shift in his posture revealing the first spark of trust. The air between them seemed to hold its breath, the forest falling silent as if listening to this delicate exchange. The princess studied him closely. There was more to this creature than met the eye. Beneath the coarse fur and wary movements, she sensed intelligence and sorrow intertwined. Perhaps a curse bound him, or some ancient magic that left him trapped in this form. Her heart ached for him, and instinctively, she knew that this encounter was no accident. Destiny, it seemed, had led her to this strange and sorrowful companion. "You carry a heavy burden," she said softly, as if voicing a truth he could not yet speak. "But perhaps together, we can lift it." She stepped closer still, letting her presence be calm and steady, allowing him to see that she offered friendship, not judgment. The boar's small, round eyes met hers, and for the first time, the princess saw a flicker of recognition, a glimmer of hope in the midst of fear. Minutes passed like hours as they regarded each other in silence. The princess could feel the tension slowly ebbing away from the small creature, replaced by a cautious curiosity. Each gentle movement she made seemed to reassure him that he was safe. She could see the story of his life, though unspoken, etched in every tremble and hesitant step, a life touched by magic, shaped by a curse, weighed down by isolation and sorrow. Finally, she spoke again, her voice carrying the calm authority of someone who had faced challenges before. "I can help you," she promised. "If you trust me, I will guide you through this forest, and perhaps beyond it, we can find a way to lift whatever binds you." The boar twitched his ears and stepped a fraction closer, his instinct to flee battling with the tiny spark of hope she had ignited. The princess smiled softly, sensing the first fragile thread of connection forming. "We will take this one step at a time," she said. "No rush, no pressure, just a walk together, learning and discovering." She gestured toward a path that wound deeper into the forest, a trail dappled with sunlight and shadow. The boar hesitated, then, with a tentative step, began to follow. The forest seemed to embrace their presence, the wind whispering through the leaves as if encouraging this unlikely companionship. Birds sang from the canopy above, and the stream's gentle murmur seemed to echo their quiet harmony. The princess walked slowly, allowing him to adjust to her pace, her soft voice offering reassurance with every word. As they ventured further, she realized that this was only the beginning. This cursed boar, timid yet intelligent, carried within him the potential for greatness, for transformation. And she, a princess raised in splendor but longing for adventure, would be the one to walk beside him, to guide him, and perhaps to discover the secrets of the curse that bound him. By the time the sun climbed high into the sky, the princess and the boar had settled into an unspoken rhythm. She spoke occasionally, telling him of the palace gardens, of the forest creatures, of the streams and meadows he had yet to see. And though he could not answer, his cautious movements and alert gaze spoke volumes, and understanding had begun, fragile yet profound. The princess's heart swelled with both excitement and empathy. She sensed that this meeting, in this quiet, sun-dappled forest clearing, was not chance. It was the start of an extraordinary journey, a journey that would test courage, reveal hidden truths, and perhaps, in time, break the curse that held her new companion in the form of a humble, wary boar. And so, together, they ventured deeper into the forest, the princess's calm presence and the boar's tentative steps weaving the first threads of a story that would become legend, a tale of trust, bravery, and the transformative power of kindness. Chapter 2: Adventure and Challenges. The morning mist lingered between the trees when the princess and the cursed boar began their journey deeper into the forest. Sunlight filtered through the high canopy in trembling rays, painting the world golden green. The air smelled of earth and dew, carrying the distant calls of unseen birds. Every step they took led them further away from the safety of the palace and deeper into a realm where magic lived quietly among the roots and shadows. The boar walked a few paces ahead, his hooves soft against the moss, pausing now and then as if listening to voices only he could hear. The princess followed closely, her gown brushing against ferns and wildflowers, her eyes bright with curiosity. Though she said little, her heart was alive with excitement. This was what she had longed for, to see the world as it truly was, vast, mysterious, and untamed. They came upon a narrow path that wound around a glimmering stream. The boar stopped suddenly, his ears twitching. The princess sensed the change immediately. The forest had grown too quiet. The cheerful song of birds had ceased, replaced by the faint rustle of movement in the underbrush. "Something's here," she whispered. Before she could speak again, the bushes ahead burst open and a swirling gust of glittering dust filled the air. The princess shielded her eyes as a trio of tiny winged creatures emerged, forest sprites, mischievous and unpredictable. They circled the pair in a blur of laughter and light, their voices like chiming bells. "Well, well! What have we here?" one sprite giggled. "A human princess, and a walking curse." The boar snorted defensively, lowering his head. The sprites fluttered just out of reach, teasing him mercilessly. "Look at him! Poor creature, trapped by his own fate." "Leave him be," the princess said firmly, her voice calm but resolute. "He means no harm." "Oh, she's brave," another sprite sneered, her tone playful yet sharp. "Tell you what, little princess, if you wish to pass, you must answer our riddle. Fail, and the forest will turn you both around, lost for eternity." The boar growled softly, but the princess lifted a hand to quiet him. "What is your riddle?" she asked. The three sprites hovered close together, whispering among themselves before chanting in unison. "I am not alive, yet I grow. I do not breathe, yet I need air. I am not water, yet I die if drowned. What am I?" The forest fell silent again. The princess frowned, thinking deeply. The boar pawed at the ground anxiously, snorting in frustration. "Not alive, but grows," she murmured to herself. "Not breathing, yet needs air, not water, but dies if drowned." Then, with a sudden spark in her eyes, she smiled. "Fire," she said. "The answer is fire." The sprites froze midair, their laughter dying instantly. Then, with a flash of bright green light, they bowed dramatically. "Clever princess," they chimed. "You may pass." As they disappeared into motes of dust, the forest came alive once more with sound birdsong, rustling leaves, the gentle sigh of wind. The boar looked at her, his dark eyes glinting with newfound respect. "You see," she said with a grin, "not all challenges require claws or fangs. Sometimes, all you need is a little wit." The boar snorted softly, and though he could not yet speak, the sound carried a hint of amusement. For the first time, the princess thought she saw the faintest trace of a smile in his expression. They continued their journey, moving deeper into the heart of the forest. The terrain grew steeper, the air cooler. They crossed bridges of fallen trees, waded through shallow streams, and climbed rocky slopes where the scent of pine and mist hung thick. The princess, though unaccustomed to hardship, never once complained. The boar, in turn, guided her carefully around roots and thorns, his instincts sharp and protective. By midday, they reached a clearing where a crystal pond reflected the sky like a mirror. Exhausted, the princess knelt beside the water to drink. Her reflection rippled in the surface, and for a fleeting moment, she saw not her own face, but that of a stranger, a man with kind eyes and a sorrowful smile. She gasped softly, her heart skipping a beat. The image vanished as quickly as it had appeared. The boar looked at her questioningly. "I think I saw," she began, but stopped herself. No, it couldn't be. Yet deep down, she knew. The curse was not just a spell of form, it was tied to something deeper, something hidden beneath layers of pain and time. As they rested, the forest began to darken. Shadows stretched long and thin across the ground, and the gentle murmur of the pond grew still. From the edge of the clearing came a sound, low, guttural, and close. The boar's ears shot up. The princess froze. Out from the darkness slithered a massive serpent, scales gleaming like oil, eyes burning like molten amber. It moved with the terrible grace of something ancient and proud. "Another trespasser," the serpent hissed. "And a cursed one at that. I can smell the magic on you." The princess stood tall, though her heart raced. "We mean no harm," she said. "We seek only to find the truth behind his curse." The serpent's mouth curved into what might have been a smile. "Then prove your worth," it hissed. "Show me the strength of your bond." Before she could reply, the serpent lunged. The boar leapt in front of her, the force of the strike sending him skidding backward. The princess cried out, rushing to his side, but the boar was already on his feet again, charging with all his might. His tusks scraped against the serpent's scales, sparks flying in the dark. "Stop!" the princess shouted. "We cannot win by force." But the serpent ignored her, wrapping its coils around the boar, squeezing tighter and tighter. Without thinking, the princess raised her hand and called upon her magic. A blinding light burst forth, pure and radiant. The serpent recoiled with a shriek, the forest trembling at the sound. When the light faded, the serpent was gone, leaving only silence and a faint shimmer in the air where it had vanished. The princess fell to her knees, trembling, the effort of her magic leaving her weak. The boar stumbled toward her, his breathing ragged. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other, the princess, pale and shaking, and the boar, covered in dust but still standing strong. She smiled faintly. "Thank you," she whispered. The boar lowered his head, almost as if bowing. As night fell, the two rested beneath the stars, the embers of their small campfire glowing softly. Between them, a quiet understanding had formed, not through words, but through courage, trust, and the shared knowledge that they had survived something greater than fear itself. And though the path ahead remained uncertain, the princess knew this much: she was no longer walking beside a beast. She was walking beside a soul bound by destiny, one that would soon reveal its true form. Chapter 3: Lifting the Curse and Becoming the Prince. Dawn broke softly over the forest, spilling golden light through the high canopy and painting the world with a gentle warmth. The princess awoke to the subtle rustle of leaves and the faint murmur of the stream nearby. Beside her, the boar stirred, his dark eyes reflecting the first rays of sunlight. The night's trials, the riddle of the sprites and the deadly encounter with the serpent, had left them both exhausted, yet somehow stronger. Something in the air told her that today would bring change, perhaps the greatest yet. She stood and brushed the dew from her gown, her gaze falling on the boar. There was a softness in his eyes now, a quiet understanding that had not been there before. "It's time," she murmured, almost to herself. "Time to lift the curse that binds you." The boar tilted his head, listening, as if he understood the words but could not speak them. The princess knelt beside him, placing her hands gently upon his back. Her magic, bright and pure, flowed from her fingertips into his fur. She whispered words of hope, courage, and liberation, not spells, but promises. Promises that he was no longer alone, that the world held more for him than fear and isolation, and that together, they could face whatever remained hidden. A wind stirred through the forest, soft at first, then growing stronger, rustling leaves and bending branches as if the trees themselves had awakened to witness this moment. The boar shivered beneath her hands, the light of her magic wrapping around him like a warm embrace. His breathing grew shallow, then deepened, as a strange glow began to emanate from his body. The princess's heart raced. She could feel the layers of enchantment unraveling, centuries of a curse, perhaps, binding him to this form. It was painful to witness, the way magic seemed to twist and constrict, yet she did not falter. She poured all of her care and determination into the light, her voice rising in a song of strength that only the pure-hearted could summon. Suddenly, the forest fell silent. Even the stream's murmur paused, as if the world itself were holding its breath. The boar stiffened, his hooves digging into the earth, bristles standing on end. Then, in a moment so bright it almost blinded her, the glow expanded outward, enveloping him entirely. When the light faded, standing where the boar had been was no longer a small, timid creature of the forest. Instead, a young man stood tall, strong, and regal, with hair the color of dark wood and eyes that held both kindness and sorrow. The princess gasped, covering her mouth with her hands. The prince, for he was now undeniably one, stepped forward, his gaze meeting hers. I can see," he said softly, his voice deep but gentle. "I can see everything clearly, and yet I remember the forest, the fear, the cold, and your courage." Tears pricked the princess's eyes. "You've come back to yourself," she whispered. "The curse, it's gone." He nodded, though a faint tremor ran through his hands. "Because of you. You didn't just lift the curse with magic. You lifted it with trust, with patience, with kindness." He stepped closer, and she could see the weight of years, of isolation and sorrow, beginning to ease from his shoulders. "Tell me everything," she urged softly. And he did. He spoke of the curse placed upon him by a jealous sorcerer who had envied his family's power and his innate ability to connect with both humans and the enchanted creatures of the forest. He spoke of the loneliness, of being trapped in a form that no one could recognize as truly him, of the fear that he would never experience friendship or love again. The princess listened, never interrupting, her heart full of empathy and quiet awe. As he spoke, a gentle wind swirled around them, lifting loose leaves and twigs like a soft celebration. Birds appeared, singing in bursts of brilliant melody, and the light filtering through the trees seemed brighter than ever. The forest itself rejoiced in this restoration of balance. When his story ended, the prince looked at her with something more than gratitude, a profound connection that neither words nor time could sever. "You have given me a gift that no enchantment could ever grant," he said. You have given me a second chance at life, at freedom, and at love." The princess smiled, feeling the warmth of his words seep into her soul. "You never needed saving," she said softly. "You needed someone to believe in you. And now, you can believe in yourself." They walked together through the forest, now bathed in the golden glow of morning. Every leaf, every flower, every stone seemed touched by magic, but this magic was different. It was alive in them, a reflection of their courage, their bond, and their shared adventure. As they reached the edge of the clearing where they had first met, the prince knelt briefly, looking out over the land that had been both his prison and his home. "I will protect this forest," he vowed. "Not because it is my duty, but because it is part of who I am. And I want you by my side, not as a princess of a distant palace, but as my companion, my friend, my equal in courage and heart." The princess felt her chest tighten, a mixture of joy and awe filling her. "I would walk with you anywhere," she said, her hand finding his. The simple touch spoke volumes of trust, of shared experience, and of the quiet promise that their story was only beginning. From that day onward, the prince and the princess were inseparable. The forest knew them as protectors, as adventurers, as friends who had faced riddles, serpents, and curses and emerged stronger together. And though the world beyond awaited with new challenges and unknown trials, they faced it with the knowledge that the deepest magic was not in spells or enchantments, but in the courage, kindness, and unwavering trust they had found in each other. As the sun set behind the trees, casting long shadows and bathing the forest in hues of amber and gold, the princess and the prince stood side by side. Their journey had begun with uncertainty and danger, but it had ended, or rather, transformed into a tale of hope, love, and the triumph of spirit over adversity. And though they both knew that life would always hold challenges, they had learned that together, no curse was too strong, no obstacle too great, and no darkness too deep. The forest whispered around them, leaves rustling like applause. And somewhere, in that quiet harmony, they both knew the truth, that courage and love, when combined, could lift even the heaviest of burdens and reveal the person you were always meant to be.